Now for the track guide. Guys, before starting, if you want to get better in the Porsche Cup car, I have just released a course specifically made for this car and I think it will elevate your skills to the next level. Link is in the video description. Now going into the track guide itself, for turn 1 you have all the time in the world to just prepare the entry. So make sure you're closest you can be to the wall, almost brushing it. Make sure you have 0 degrees of steering wheel angle so that you will be more efficient under braking. And you're looking at the 500 meter boards. At the 500 you're gonna be applying the brakes. You will want to brake in a straight line as much as you can to shave off the speed. Going into third gear, when you get closer to 100 you will start to turn into the corner slightly before it. And when you approach the corner, it's super important to apex very closely to the curb. I can't emphasize this enough because this will be a key thing to do to be quick around this track. So barely brushing around the beginning of the white and blue curb. You don't want to go on top of it, especially the highest part of the curb, because the car will be unsettled. But if you barely clip it, if you barely feel it in the force feedback, you will have such a better run in all the corners of the track, almost. So make sure you're still holding the brakes past the curb here, so you're still under braking, and then after the curb you're going to be pushing the throttle. Your goal will be to have the car in the center left, but not all the way here towards the left side. If you're touching this blue curb, then you will lose time in the next section, and conversely, if you're all the way into the center right, then your speed was too low in the previous corner and you won't take it back. Now, when you turn into this corner, it's super important to use all the track. And look here, you see, it almost looks like our left tires are on the grass, which is the case. You can barely clip this grass and it won't be an off track. You will do just one lift when you're cutting this part and then going back on throttle. It's okay if you arrive here on the blue curb, that's perfectly fine. Because then we're gonna start turning into the right side and we basically go diagonally towards the most outside part of the track, nearest the curb on the left side, and then cut it back towards the right. So we're shortening the distance as much as we can, going diagonally. We will be braking when we start seeing closely this curb in front of the car. But the brake here is just a tool for rotation. We just don't want to shave speed. We just mostly want to push more weight into the front tire so that the car will turn more. And also because we're turning and braking at the same time, braking has to be done softly. So we're barely feathering the brakes, 9% on the brakes. Then when we get to more or less closer to 0 degrees on the steering wheel angle and we start to almost straighten up the car in a little way, then we can bump up the pressure. But make sure when you're mounting this curb that you're doing it all the way to the grass. There's a lot of lap time to be found if your left tire is brushing the grass. So using all the track here, this is what it means. Now in third gear, you will quickly downshift to second when you're turning in to get more rotation, and you will still hold the brakes up until you hit the curb on the right side. And when you hit it, you're gonna be pushing the throttle quite aggressively. The goal here is to be once again into the center left. You don't want to be all the way towards the left side because you want to be holding the throttle pinned into the next section of the track. So stay in the center left, don't go all the way towards the left side, and now push the car a little bit closer to the center and just cut these curves like this. This one is a bit bumpier, but it's fine. The goal is to not drop the throttle, to take it flat out. This is how you're gonna be gaining time. And now for the next corner, reference for braking, the beginning of this curve in front of you, like right now, you're gonna be applying the brakes once the curve begins. And in terms of the braking, it has to be done to some degree with using the curb on the right side to open up the corner. There's a little space here to the right side of the white line that you need to use at turn in. So while braking into this corner, look, we put our right tires on this space here because there's more space that we can use. And then going to second gear, once again we're looking at this curb and we're trying to apex, barely clipping it, but touching it a little bit, but in the lower part. Like this, you see it fills in the suspension, you should barely feel it because that's the proper way to apex. In terms of the braking for this corner, you see mostly hold on constant pressure because it's no elevation, straight line braking. You should be staying at the grip limit. Your exit should be in the center of the track, and then you'll try to bring the car even more towards the left to prepare the next corner, upshifting to third gear. And when you're turning into this corner, as you get closer to the curb, drop the throttle to 0, do here a lift, even add a tiny bit of trail brake on the curb, it's gonna be fine. And then on your way out, when you're almost leaving the curb, you should be pushing the throttle. Now, there's a right left. For the left one you have to brake more, so if in the previous one you do a lift or you barely touch the brake, here you have to brake more, because we need to have the car positioned towards the left side when exiting this corner to prepare the next one, because next one leads to a decent straight. So once again here we need to cut all the way to the grass, pressing the brake and now pushing the throttle. This is important. You should be closer to the white line here on the left side when preparing the next corner. And the next corner you're gonna be braking in second gear, cut a lot this curb, then push the throttle aggressively. You might have a bit of an oversteer moment, and that's fine, but make sure you catch it quite quickly, because you don't want to lose time by correcting it too late. Now for this corner, the reference for braking will be the 400 meter board, if that would be a thing. So before 300, like right now, we're applying the brakes. You want to brake almost diagonally when going into this corner, because you want to be very close to the wall like this before turning in. At the 100 meter board, slightly before it, we will start turning more and more into the corner in second gear, clipping a tiny bit this curb and pushing the throttle at the curb. In this lap we get a bit too far towards the left side. You should be a bit more towards the center, so it once again is center left. Don't go all the way to the left, because now our next corner will be slightly compromised. Not the end of the world, but still you can improve this lap a tiny bit. Now bringing the car into the center of the track, we're gonna brake and turn very closely to the curb here when you just see it in your windshield. And super important, take a late apex, cut all the curb. You'll have a better angle if you have the car slightly better position from the previous corner. And the throttle is now super important. You have to push the throttle aggressively, reach 100% throttle before hitting this blue and white curb. And now this will be just flat out all the way through turn 1. So that's why it's an important corner. Make sure you get it right. And in short, that's a lap around here. Hope you like it, I hope you enjoy it. Once again, if you want to improve at a quicker pace, check out my website, plenty of courses there, and looking forward to see you in the next one. Bye bye.